This is the BYD ATTO 3 Comfort. I've been driving it for about a week now, and I've got lots of thoughts, as always. If this is your first experience of one of my reviews on the Next Drive, I should start it by saying that I don't do traditional car reviews. I basically drive these things for a week, which is typically how long we get them for as press cars, and randomly note down what I like and what I don't like about them. And it is a very random list. But I think if you combine this with the traditional reviews that you'll get all across YouTube and everywhere basically, then you should come to a fairly well-rounded conclusion as to whether or not the ATTO 3 Comfort is for you. Starting with the pricing in the UK, this Comfort version is about £38,000. The design version, which is a bit fancier, gives you a few more things, is about 40 grand. So it's not cheap, but for an EV, that's kind of what you pay for this kind of car. In terms of the kind of car it is, it's a C SUV, which I genuinely had to look up. I'm not joking, which basically means compact SUV. So it's a bit bigger than a regular hatchback, but it's not quite the size of a regular SUV. In terms of range, I charged this car up to 100% a few days ago, and it gave me 260 miles of predicted range, and that is predicted. If this is going to be your first EV, this is a lesson in what that means basically, because since then I've done 150 miles exactly, and I've got 54 miles left in the battery apparently, so 21% remaining. So I'm not going to hit 260 miles. Now, in terms of where I'm driving, I'm in the UK, as I mentioned earlier, and the weather is 19-20 degrees. You know, it's kind of summer-ish over here at the moment, and I've been driving fairly normally, really. I've been on motorways, I've done a bit of back road driving, a bit of spirited driving. You know, I have put my foot down a little bit just to see what the performance is like, but it's relatively regular driving, really. So, like I say, if this is going to be your first EV, don't expect to get the full quoted range, and don't expect to get what says, whatever that display there says in terms of what you have remaining. Don't rely on that, please. But let's get to what I like about this car. The interior feels immediately interesting. If you heard that bong, then I'll come on to that later. But the interior does feel genuinely interesting. Now, there's all sorts of words and things that BYD uses to describe the inspiration behind this design. I won't go into that because I don't understand it, and I'm not that sort of person. I just don't get that stuff. I just get into a car and think, is it a nice place to be? And the good news is, it is a nice place to be. It's interesting. It's quite big for a car that isn't that big on the outside. You know, this is a compact SUV. Inside, it feels really spacious, and the people that have sat in this car since I've had it have all said the same thing. I think the reason for that is because the dash, certainly on the passenger side, is really kind of pushed back. There's loads of space over here. It seems to be so far away, which just makes it feel more spacious than it perhaps is. Headroom is pretty good. I'm not very tall. I'm about 5'9", so I'm not the tallest guy in the world. In terms of headroom for me, loads of space here. The back isn't too bad either. I love the fact we have this panoramic sunroof. It's just a lovely way of letting light into the car. And it opens, it's a proper sunroof. That's something that this car has over, for instance, the Model 3, the Tesla, or the Model Y, the new one. By the way, I reviewed that recently. We'll put a link to that review at the end of this one in case you're looking at that car as well. But this just lets in loads of light, which is lovely. But there's lots of nice little touches in here. So for instance, the heater controls are just interesting. Once again, there's that word. Lots of big chunky dials that you can faff around with. There is one very odd thing, which it's not a negative, so I won't put it in my list of negatives. It's down here. So we've got basically a door pocket, which has three, I don't know if you can hear that, strings attached to it, and they're on all four doors basically, and it's like I think they're tuned actually. It's like almost like a guitar on your door. No idea what it's for or why it's there. The one thing it does mean is that if you've got kids who are sitting in the back, they're just going to play with it all the time, and if it's a long car journey, that can get very irritating. But it's another design quirk that is interesting. The other thing that I like are the door handles, which kind of wrap around the speaker here. Very nice to use, very, very satisfying to open the door, and they just look different once again. And we have loads of buttons in here, and I mean tons of buttons. They're all over the steering wheel, loads down here as well, next to the gear shift. By the way, the gear shift is very satisfying. It's this great big kind of handle thing with the parking button on the bottom of it, and it's got a lock button on the right hand side. It's just a really satisfying thing to use. For me, that matters. The aesthetics are important for me on the interior, but it's the tactile nature of the buttons. And the fact that BYD hasn't removed too many buttons is a good thing. And then the ones they've left feel good, they feel nice and well made, and they're just enjoyable to use. So top marks there. The other thing we have is this rotating screen in front of me, which I can press a button on the steering wheel and it does that. It's a bit gimmicky. I've driven a few BYDs now with this tilting display, and the only real use I can find for it, in fact you can see there, is for navigation. So if I do that, I can basically see further ahead. It gives me more of a view of the map. I quite like that. Aside from that, it's a bit of a gimmick, but it's quite a cool thing to show your mates and show your family. Everyone who sees that is impressed by it. There's another bong, I'll get onto those later. And the entertainment system itself, I know some people have criticised it, but I find it pretty easy to use. And regardless, you'll use CarPlay or Android Auto. That will be your default choice, I would have thought. And again, that's something that BYD has over Tesla, whereas Teslas don't have any integration with Apple or Android whatsoever, apart from Bluetooth, obviously. You do get full-on Android Auto and Apple CarPlay on here, which is nice. I love the abundance of cameras, which means we get a lovely overhead parking display, which is again something that you don't get on every new car, but you do on BYD. I also love little touches in cars these days, little things that the manufacturers do just to make your life a little bit easier. If you have, for instance, the air conditioning absolutely blaring because it's really, really hot, and you want to make a call, or as I was doing, you want to leave a note on your phone as a voice note, it automatically turns down the fans, and it says on the screen, turning fans down to make call clearer or something. A tiny thing, a tiny little detail, but something which, when you think about it, makes so much sense and means that you won't have to do that yourself or listen back to that recording and realise that all you can hear is this fan noise. Brilliant. What else can I say about the interior? Well, it's a very comfortable interior. These seats are fantastic. They're quite sporty. They kind of hug you around the sides here. I think they look great as well. In terms of practicalities, it's a very practical car. The boot is bigger than you think it is for a compact SUV. For instance, at the weekend, we managed to fit a medium-sized dog in there and lots of stuff for a kid's party. And okay, we had to take the parcel shelf off, but it was fine. It worked absolutely fine. Noah was very happy in there. My son loves this car. That's always quite a big test for me. He's very fond of this great big sunroof, and he loves the, as I mentioned earlier, the whatever they're for. My girlfriend is the test when it comes to interior design and the feel of the car, and she said it's lovely. She really liked it. She said it's very different, it's interesting. I think she used that word as well. It went down brilliantly with my family, so that's a good thing as well. But let's talk about performance. It's fine. It does the job for the intended audience. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. I'm not suggesting that if you buy an Atto 3 you're giving up on life and you don't care about having fun while you're driving. That's not the point. It's still a pretty fun car to drive, but the acceleration isn't as biblical and as computer game like and as elastic as, for instance, a Model 3. You know, Tesla do tend to go for performance in most of their cars. It's just mind-bendingly quick. Same thing with BMW and some of the other EVs that I've driven. Whereas BYD have been, I think, fairly conservative with the power output on this car. It's quick, don't get me wrong. It's going to be much quicker than, you know, the Ford C-Max that you're coming from. This will be a lot quicker, trust me, but it's not the quickest EV on the market. The 0 to 60 time is 7.1 seconds, which isn't going to set the world alight, but it will get you out of trouble. It just does the job. But let's move on to the things that I don't like about this car, starting with the bings and the bongs and the nannying that you get on modern cars. And that's an important point. This isn't a BYD specific issue. It's a, there we go, there's one now. It's a modern car thing. Some of it is regulatory in the UK. I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I know the speeding thing where if you go 1 mile an hour above the speed limit, it makes a noise. I'm fairly sure that's red tape. It's to do with the government and all the rest of it. So that's, you know, that's not BYD's fault whatsoever, and it might be different in your country, I don't know. If you put that to one side, it's the rest of the nannying that happens with modern cars. So for instance, there's one particular bong that this car makes. I have no idea what it means, and it's been doing it regularly. So whatever I'm doing wrong, which I can't think, I'm not speeding, I'm not driving into oncoming traffic, I'm not indicating right and turning left. I've been driving since 1999. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing. But there's one particular bong that goes off, I'd say at least once a minute, and I have no idea what it means. And the reason I have no idea what it means is because it bongs and then something appears on that display in front of me, but it appears, I'm not making this up, for about half a second and then disappears. And there's at least 10 words in this sentence, but they're there and then they disappear straight away. So the irony of a lot of this nannying stuff that a lot of these kind of health and safety type things that the cars do, these new cars do, the irony is that they don't really explain what they're telling you. And if you try and work out what they're telling you there it is, and it's gone. By trying to read that thing, I'm probably going to crash into that car in front because I've taken my eyes off the road, and I'm getting increasingly agitated about these noises that I don't know what they are. Another great example of it is traffic lights. If you pull up to a traffic light and then you sit here and then the traffic light goes green, what do? You drive off because you can see the traffic lights. I don't need this machine to tell me that there's a traffic light in front of me turning green because I can see it. Now, okay, I have called that out as a benefit in previous reviews, but there's just something about the ATTO 3 in particular that has really annoyed me when it comes to the number of noises it makes and the fact that I can't work out what they are, what they mean. The other thing I've noticed is if I'm indicating like I am now and something bongs and bings, it interrupts the indicator sound to make that bong, and then the indicator sound comes back in, which is really off-putting. The other thing I'm not keen on is that display in front of me. It's, well, two things. The first thing is that it seems to be, on this car, stop bonging, slightly off-centre. It's kind of twisted to the left a little bit. I can't work out if that's my eyes, if it's just a kind of visual illusion, if it's actually centred, but for some reason the position of the steering wheel isn't making it look... I don't know, it just, to me, it looks like it's a little bit like that. Could be a build quality issue, I don't know. I mean, the build quality, generally speaking, in this car is good. It's built well. There's some rattles here and there, which isn't great for a car that's done a few hundred miles, but generally speaking, the build quality is good. The second problem with it is that there are so many things on that display. So many little icons, little numbers, big numbers. It's just all over the shop. The stereo system is okay. It's not brilliant. And the reason I'm listing this as a negative is because I think we live in an era now where car stereos should sound really good, no matter which car you're in. Audio stuff these days generally sounds pretty good. It's hard to buy a bad pair of headphones, for instance. You really have to EQ the system, basically, to make it sound half decent. And for someone who really values his car stereo, that is a negative. The other thing that annoys me in the interior is to do with the buttons, which I know that was in my list of good things, but the one bad thing, the one thing that I can't get my head around at all, and this again kind of either makes me very old, and I know that there will definitely be people coming into the comments who have got BYDs and telling me that there's a way around this, but this has a heated steering wheel, which is great. I mean, this car has a lot of things as standard that you didn't used to get as standard in base model cars, which is fantastic. And one of those things is a heated steering wheel, which, again, a bit like the overhead parking camera, once you experience that, you can never go back, basically. However, to turn it on, there's nothing on the steering wheel. There's no button here. There's lots of buttons, as mentioned earlier, but there's no heated steering wheel button anywhere on here. To turn it on, as you may have guessed, you have to go into the system and press some buttons. Or I think you can ask the car to do it via voice control, but both of those options aren't as quick as just going and turning it on, so that's irritating. The other thing that annoys me about the interior, which is a bit fastidious, I know, is the fact that we don't get 0.5 increments for the heating and the AC. it's just 18, 19, 20. I hate that. I really want a 0.5, because if it's not quite warm enough, I don't want to go a whole degree. I just want to go half a degree. It's not much to ask, is it? Then we have the performance, and as mentioned earlier, it's perfect for the people who I think will buy this car. But if you are into your driving, if you like a bit of a spirited, safe, obviously, and very legal drive on B roads, this isn't the car for you. It really isn't. It goes around corners okay, but you feel a bit disconnected from the driving experience. And although it will get you out of trouble and it will help you overtake people when you need to, the acceleration is just, it's a bit laboured really. The other problem is torque steer. Now, if you're not sure what this is, it's basically when you put your foot down and the car struggles to put the power down onto the tarmac without the steering wheel kind of moving in your hands left and right. I can't demonstrate it here because I'm driving on a public road, but as you put your foot down, hard, the car kind of wiggles from left to right. It's a bit unnerving, and again, it kind of demonstrates that this car isn't for driving hard. But in terms of negatives, that's it. I can't really think of anything else to say about this car that would potentially put you off buying it, because I think for the intended audience, and this is my conclusion, by the way, I've already reached the conclusion about this car, and I reached it very quickly after a couple of days of driving it, is that for the intended audience, BYD has absolutely nailed it. They really have. I think if you just want an EV and you don't need a great big SUV, but you want enough space to put your dog into the back and, just get stuff done, get from A to B. You're not particularly fussed about performance, but equally you want to have some oomph behind it. You're pretty much only taking this around town and perhaps on the nursery run or whatever. The range is going to be absolutely fine as well. You're not going to have a problem with that. I think you will have an issue with some of the things that I've spoken about, but I think most of those things you can get over. I've driven quite a few BYD cars now, and they all have one thing in common, which is they have character, and you feel like you're getting quite a lot for your money. Most things are standard. Most gadgets, most things that you'd have to pay more for instance, on an Audi or a BMW, come as standard on BYD, as they do with Tesla. So I can't tell you whether or not this car is right for you. But I think if you combine this video with a traditional review or two of the BYD ATTO 3, you'll fairly quickly come to the conclusion as to whether or not you need one or want one. Funny enough, I'm just driving past a BYD dealership in Warwick, and that was my other point, that these cars are popping up everywhere now, as are the dealerships. Anyway guys, thank you for watching the video. If you haven't subscribed to The Next Drive yet, make sure you do. And if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.